Good afternoon, everyone. If you're joining us from Eastern Standard Time, we are excited to have you as part of this session with our HBCU-UP PIs to have a conversation with our colleagues from the Division of Grants and Agreements. I believe I'm saying that acronym correctly. Um, I am looking to scroll through here. I know our primary presenter will be Rashawn Ferrier, and he has joined us with his team. We're going to use this as an opportunity to certainly make that transition and invite that team to come forth and invite and share some of the information that they have with you. We want to remind you that the chat feature is available for you. As we understand, his team will be responding to questions that you may have in the chat, and also at the time in which they provide, they may allow more interaction via questions and answers. So at this time, I want to thank our colleagues for being here and turn it over to Rashawn. Thank you, Rashawn.
Thank you, Carlita. Good afternoon, everyone. I was actually in the wrong chat a few minutes ago. So I'm glad to be in the right chat room talking to you guys. This is pretty much my family. If you don't know, I have a few of my colleagues that are on the line. So before I introduce myself, I want to make sure I introduce them. I have Ms. Cartia Brown Morgan. She is a grant officer here at the National Science Foundation under the Division of DRL and DGE, Division of Graduate Education, and Division of Formal Research and Informal Settings. I think I said that right. I always try not to butcher it. And then we have Janelle Gossi, who is your actual grant officer for HRD and DUE. And she's been on a detail for 120 days. Today is her last day of the detail. So that's how you got me doing this presentation today. So she's on the line as well. And they will be assisting me in the chat about questions that you may have. And I tried to make the presentation short because I wanted to make sure that you guys had an opportunity to ask me whatever you had on your mind. So with that being said, my name is Rashawn Ferrier. I have been with the agency now 14 years. I'm a proud graduate of two HBCUs, Clark Atlanta University and North Carolina A&T State University. So this community is really close to my heart. I see Camille McKay. I did my first trip out of the country, well, not really out of the country, but to UVI as a summer institute. So yeah, that's always close to my heart too. So I say I'm a little bit of a UVI graduate as well. So it's good to see you guys. I've been to Pine Bluff, so good to see you, Anissa. I've been around a while, so let's just get into it. I'm going to share my screen and hopefully you guys can see it. Let me know that you can. And I will start the show. Okay, perfect. So basically this is just, the goal of this whole presentation is just to give you some hints, some tips of how to navigate through now that you got the award. You had the award, you went through the whole process and you got the team together. When you thought of this idea, you responded to the solicitation, you submitted it, and you waited the 6 to 8 months, and then you get this letter, and it's like, oh my God, we got the letter. And then you have this whole panic session of, okay, now what do we do? Okay, is this real? Yes, it's real. So I'm here to just walk you through some great tips that I hope that will be helpful to you in the process. If you don't know, if you haven't been to Alexandria, this is actually our new building. We haven't been in the new building. It will be almost a year coming up next month. Due to COVID restrictions, we've been operating remotely. So hopefully soon in the next year or two, we will be able to actually have a conference where what we're used to and actually seeing each other in person and engaging in that manner. So with that, I will start here. So grantee responsibilities, one of the funniest things I always get, and I don't laugh at you guys, so I'm gonna just tell you the story. So when you call, you'll say, well, Rashawn, my grant, I have an issue with my grant. And I always pause. I don't ever say anything, but I always pause. And I was just like, your grant, it's not your grant. It's the institution's grant. So remember, you're working on behalf of your institution. So at any given time, you feel that you want to go somewhere else, that grant, if the institution does not want it to leave, it doesn't have to. And so that's always like to tell you, you're working on behalf of the institution, and that's why the grant is not yours. Okay. Also, the grantee institution is responsible for the terms and conditions of the award. And what do I mean by that? When you get that award notice, most of the time grantees just look and see the dollar amount. Oh my, okay, this is how much money we got, 500,000, we got $1 million, etc. But you don't read the award. Read the award, because that's important. It's been almost 6 to 8 months since you actually looked at the solicitation. Go back, look at that solicitation. Make sure that you are aware of all that is required of you on this solicitation. Then I want to make sure that you are aware of those conditions. If there's anything that you're unclear of, that's when you can give us a call. You want to make sure that you talk to your Office of Sponsor Programs. And that leads me to this. Who is the Office of Sponsor Program? What are they to you? As a PI, they are your triple threat. They're your ally, your advocate, and your advisor. They are here to help you. They're not here to harm you. I get so many calls where PIs will call and say, well, my institution will not allow me to do this. Okay, well, they're saying that because there's probably some institutional policies and procedures in place that prohibits whatever you're trying to do. Also, they're making sure that they're adhering to the federal guidelines as well. Another thing, what PIs try to do is put us in the middle, and NSF does not play referee. So if there's institutional policies, procedures that are in place, we have to honor that as a federal agency. We can't circumvent and say, well, you can't do this because NSF said so. No, if there's policies and procedures in place, we have to honor that, okay? Also, I've learned over the 14 years that, when there's questions, I always ask, well, have you talked to your Office of Sponsor Programs? Sometimes they say yes, sometimes they say no. And most of the time when they say no, and I'm always kind of puzzled, because these are the individuals you should have a good rapport and constant communication with. And because if you do that, you will probably end up being way more successful than not. Remember, it's a partnership, it's a teamwork. I can't do my job without the Office of Sponsor Research. You can't do your job without a program officer. We all work together. So make sure that you're meeting up with your Office of Sponsor Programs office, as much as you can, especially when you're just starting out. You really want to do like a walkthrough of what is required of you as a PI, just so you can get a gist of what's going on with what you're about to embark on, this grant that you applied and now received. Okay. Participant support is usually one of these very unique items to NSF. So it's always this, kind of, I know it, but I don't know it. And so I was trying to make sure that I gave you just like some real simple key things that you should think about. And it's very unique. So you're not going to see participant support, say, at NSF or DOD or Department of Ed. So it's unique to us, NSF. With that, well, I want to rebudget. Okay, well, what are you trying to rebudget? So if you have money in, say, travel, and you want to move some money from travel into participant support, do you need NSF approval? No, move it in there. We love when you put money in participant support. We always have concerns when you're trying to move money out of participant support. And that's not to say you can't, but you need prior approval. Okay, so if you're trying to move costs that are within those line items, especially line F4, which is other, there's a request that has to go in, which is called the reallocation of participant support. And that's found in research.gov. And so I'm not trying to overwhelm you, but that's just things that you may need to think about. Costs for students can't be employees. So let's say you are University of Arkansas Pine Bluff. You have some students that you want to take on this conference, and they're going to present posters and things like that. And you want to bring some University of Arkansas UAPB faculty with you on the trip to Washington, D.C. Question is, what are they considered? Can they go? Sure, they can go. Are they participants? No, they're not participants. They can't be employees of the institution. So they can't be faculty. They can't be, chaperones are not participants. I'm trying to think of other things that I could give you just off the top of my head, but those are the things that you have to think about. And what is the criteria of being a participant? Have you thought that out? What's the eligibility requirements? Is there a GPA? Is there a locality? Are you looking for a certain demographic? Are you looking for a certain population that you're trying to extrapolate information from? So all those things are important, right? Incentive payments. So let's say you want to give out gift cards, and I get this question all the time, so that's why I put it in there. Can you have gift cards? Sure. How are you going to disperse those gift cards? What's the eligibility to get one? How are you tracking it? When I say track it, that doesn't mean that I need for you to figure out how much they spent. No. But did you write down the barcode and the denomination that it was issued for? And I'm saying this not from the PI's perspective. This is what your Office of Sponsored Research Office will ask you, to make sure that we're accounting for those costs, okay? So this right here is something that I always strongly encourage everyone that I speak to download and put on your desktop. This is the Proposal Award and Procedure Policies and Procedures Guide, also known as the PAPG, is what we call it in short. If you go to Google, just do NSF 20-1, it's going to pop up. I click on the PDF, add it to your desktop. And why do I say that? If you have any questions about what does NSF think about this subject, whatnot, it's going to walk you through the proposal part and the post administration part. Only thing you need to do, which is great when you do it in a PDF, is Control F. You type in the keyword, and it's going to give you all those buzzwords and the policies that you need. So when you call me and you ask for something, that's how I look it up. So just so you know, this is something that I use. So I always like to make sure that I allow and give the same method of how I do my research on a particular topic to you guys. Also, when you do have a question, make sure that you put in your grant number in the subject line in the email. We have about 40 people on staff in the Division of Grants and Agreements, and we do about 12,000 awards each year. So when you call and you just start talking, please make sure that you let us know what the proposal or the award number is, because then we can help you in the process of doing or finding out what we need to assist you in the process, okay? So this right here, this is just for your own guide for you if you need to look at, well, I have a request, but I don't know where to go. A lot of things, if you're new to NSF, we had fastlane.gov for many, many years. And if you notice, it has been migrating over into research.gov. So a lot of the requests that you have now, most of them are in research.gov, because Fastlane will be retiring shortly. I don't know exactly when is the cutoff date, but most of the requests that you look for are now in this format in research.gov. So I just pretty much wanted to give you just an overview of some of them. When I was talking about if you wanted to move money around participant support, that would be the the fourth one down, the reallocation of funds provided for participant support. And you would just go into research.gov, you would put in the request, you would explain what you're trying to do, and then the program officer would acknowledge that request. You would not get an amendment or a reallocation or participant support, okay? But let's say you wanted to do a withdrawal of a co-PI. That request would still go through research.gov. It would go to the program officer. They would review all the documentation that you submitted, and they would then recommend it for us to review. And then we would issue, when I say we, the Division of Grants and Agreements, would issue an amendment acknowledging and approving the withdrawal of said PI, okay? So these are just certain things that we go. So as you can see, there's still a few requests that are left in FastLane at this moment. And I'll make sure that Carlita and Michelle have a copy of this presentation, so don't panic. You will have your own personal copy emailed to you or available on the site, however they decide to do it. But these are just other things that where you look for requests and things of that nature. So there's only a few left that are in fastlane.gov. Okay, so rebudgeting. I get so many phone calls, so many emails about my sponsor research office needs an email from you saying that it's okay for us to rebudget this. You do not need that email from me because you have the most I would say this, grantees have rebudgeting authority, okay? So what does that mean? That means you don't need NSF prior approval to move line items around. We are well aware that from the moment that you submitted the proposal to now that you have the award, things have changed. Money has changed. The price of things have changed. So we're aware that you may need to rebudget, but you do not need to alert NSF. The only time you would need to alert NSF is when you're trying to take money out of participant support, or you're trying to move money within that line item of participant support of line F4 other, or if the cost or the change that you're trying to do could appear as a change of scope or objective. If that is where you think you are, you can consult with your program officer. If they say, yeah, I think this is a change in scope, it's just as simple as just putting in a request and it will be reviewed by the program officer and then an amendment will be issued, okay? So, big topic, no cost extensions. I get a lot of phone calls when grantees first get their award and they say, oh, we're already behind, so we need to already ask for an additional year. We can't. We will not honor anything early. You must submit your request as noted. So the block in the blue gives you some really key information, right? So you can't get a no-cost extension if you don't have any money. I know that sounds crazy, but you can't do a no-cost extension if you don't have any funds remaining, okay? And if you want to do a no-cost extension, the system will allow you, I want to say up to 10 days prior to the end date. Now, this is the grantee approved no-cost extension. So why am I harboring on that? The grantee approved no-cost extension is what I call the get out of jail free card, like on a Monopoly game, right? So you just go into the system, you go into research.gov, you click that you want an additional 12 months, you hit submit, and that's it. You are automatically issued an additional 12 months. You didn't have to talk to me, you didn't have to talk to Carlito, Michelle, you didn't have to talk to any of us. It's just done, right? No amendment is going to be issued for a grantee approved no cost extension. Now, say you got the grantee no cost extension, grantee approved no cost extension, and now you say, oh my God, I think I need an additional year. Okay, well now you're going to apply for an NSF approved no cost extension, and that one's going to be submitted 45 days prior to the end of your current budget end date, right? Now, that's going to be reviewed by the program officer, and then it's going to be an amendment issued by my office, the Division of Grants and Agreements, right? Now, this is what I really want you to horn in on. If you go into the system and you click on NSF approved no cost extension, it's not going to stop you. And if you go through the whole process and you go through it and you get that approved, you forfeited your free grantee approved extension. You can't get it back. So always do the grantee approved no cost extension first, always, because that's your free one. And then if you need additional time, you would then click on the NSF approved no cost extension. Okay. So I got a few questions for you. Can I request a no cost extension if the grant does not have any remaining funds? Or I say and, can I request a no cost extension when there's an overdue project report? What do you guys think? I'm not gonna hold it too long. No, you can't. So just like we said, you can't get a no cost extension if you don't have any money remaining. So that, because it takes money to actually run your project. So you can't ask for a no cost extension and you don't have any money to run the project. Another thing, you can't get a no cost extension if you have an overdue report. Overdue report is basically going to block everything that you may want to do, whether it be an increment, a change of PI, a subaward request. I can go on and on. It stops everything. There's nothing that I can do in the system to override it. And when you have that overdue report must not only be submitted, it needs to be submitted and approved by the NSF Cognizant Program Officer. So sometimes grantees get a little confused and think, well, I submitted it. Well, submission and review and approval is two different things. It is submission and then review and approval. So the program officers will not skip what they're doing if you're late submitting your annual report. So make sure that you are vigilant and when you're dealing with your reports. So it just brought me into the next one. Annual reports are so important. They are due 90 days prior to the end of your current budget date. When I say if you have subawards, if you have co-PIs, make sure that they are submitting, especially with your co-PIs, if they have NSF awards, right? Because if they have an overdue report, your annual report could be delayed. So I always tell grantees to make sure that you come up with some kind of timeline so that when that alert hits your email saying, hey, you got an overdue report or your annual report is due, you need to start thinking about, okay, are we ready to submit? Another key takeaway. Sometimes if you are awarded a grant and you didn't get it, say, on the said start date, it might be a month delay, maybe 2 month delay. And you start to panic and say, well, I can't report a full year. That's fine. Sometimes you might report 9 months, you might report 8 months, but we want to make sure that you're reporting in that particular fiscal year, okay? So make sure you are aware of that. And like I said earlier, failure to submit any of this information will delay any kind of activity or any future funding. As far as if you have a pending proposal, you have overdue report, we can't release that money or we can't release that award to you because you have overdue report. That goes to the next topic, which is a huge issue. So I want to make sure we are very clear. Your project outcome report is due 120 days following the end of your grant. Okay. Now, if you know that you're not done with your project and you want a no cost extension, do not submit the project outcome report, because the project outcome report is saying that you're saying to NSF and you're saying to the general public that we have finished, we have completed our project, we have completed the work, and here's what we found. Now, but if you still want to say you have other things that you want to finish, you had a goal or objective that you didn't finish, don't submit your POR, your project outcome report, because it takes a lot of energy through different divisions within the foundation to reverse a POR. It takes a lot of extra time. So remember, even when you go into it and saying you get that pop-up, it asks you, are you sure? Click yes or no. If you are not sure, click no. Because once you click yes, you have now told NSF that you have completed all the goals and objectives of your award, and now you're ready to basically close out the award. And so that's been a huge undertaking for those who submit the project outcome report in error. So just make sure you're aware of that. So top 4 reasons why most proposals are delayed in process, because that's what you really always want to know. Overdue reports, which we discussed. Lack of budget justification. So for instance, if you asking for $500,000 and then you give me a paragraph about the money that you're going to spend, I'm going to question it because you're not giving us enough information about the money that we're trying to give you. So make sure if you ever hear from the Division of Grants and Agreements to answer what we are requesting, okay? Sometimes we may ask for revised budgets. Sometimes when we ask for those revised budgets, we're asking to change something. What I will say, when we do ask for revised budgets, I would say 99% of the time, we're never going to ask for a revised budget that's going to lower your award unless it's something that is not allowable, okay? But if we're just trying to, saying you miscalculated something, we're never going to take that money away because we want to keep the money at the program officer's recommendation, okay? So the biggest thing is failure to respond to NSF requests, and that could be the program officer or DGA. When we are asking for this information, we're asking for this information for a reason. Because if you hear or you see an email from Janelle or myself, the likelihood is, oh my God, they're working on my grant now. They're waiting on me. And in actuality, we are. So if we ask you for information and we give you a deadline, we're giving you a deadline for a reason, because contrary to what you may believe, we don't get any bonuses for keeping proposals in our log. We want to get them out to you so you can start doing the science. So make sure that you are responding to our requests or our emails. Like I said earlier, if you have any questions, feel free to ask us. I think that's one of the biggest things. If there's something that we sent you that you don't understand, feel free to ask us. And I just lead on to that. Ask early, ask often. I always tell grantees there's never a crazy question, stupid question. I don't care how many times I have to answer the question. The goal is to make sure that you're comfortable and you understand what is required of you as a grantee, and to help you. So feel free to ask us anything that you would like. And with that, I'm actually done and I can open up the questions. So I will do my stop sharing so I can see you guys. And I see a lot of things in the chat, like 32, okay. Let's see here. I'm gonna go up, okay. Where are we? Okay, I'll make sure I read everything to make sure I'm good, okay. Thank you for the Aggie Pride. Greetings from Lincoln. Harris still haven't been there yet. Virginia Union, I was just there. I did a workshop with you guys. Well, not with Office of Response Programs. I did with Linda Jackson. I did it about a year ago. Hopefully I'll be able to get back to you. Greetings from Winston-Salem State. My brother graduated from Winston-Salem State, so that's another connection. So I'm familiar with that. Fort Valley, I have yet to go to Fort Valley. TSU, that's Tennessee State or Texas Southern. Either way, I've been to both. I've been to both. Yes.
I believe Janelle got to the questions in the chat. So
oh, she did? Okay.
Open it up. Yeah.
So she answered all of the questions. Okay. So now you can ask me any questions that are outside of the chat. So feel free to ask me anything that I didn't cover, something that you always wanted to know. I think I think our budget this year is $8.5 billion. So we want to make sure you guys are looking for opportunities. Also, especially with the HBCU community, I say this all the time, so I'm gonna say it now. Please look for opportunities outside of HBCU-UP in the foundation. There's nothing that is hindering you or stopping you for other opportunities. Just because we're HBCU doesn't mean we can only apply for this little bit of money. And I say that because sometimes I was actually at Pine Bluff a few years ago, and I was talking about, they were showing us their STEM building that we did really great stuff, beautiful building. And they were so excited about this building. And I said, okay, well, you think you're doing well, which you are, but how about the school up the street. And I showed them basically what the school that was 25 miles north of them was getting from NSF compared to what they were getting. And it was a big, oh my God, we're not doing enough. So make sure that you're applying for opportunities with NSF that doesn't have to have HBCU in the title. They are constant, that we have numerous directorates that are constantly looking for the pool of talent that you have at your university. So make sure that you extend and breathe outside of EHR, because there's other opportunities that we want to see you in. We have a new director, we have a new administration. So racial inclusion, diversity and inclusion are really big. So we want to make sure that you guys are at the forefront. And I always tell this as well. Out of the top 200 schools that we fund, there are only 2 HBCUs in that top 200. 2. Only 2. Out of 200 that get the most money from NSF, there's 2 HBCUs. My goal is to make sure that that number goes up. I know people probably want to know, well, who are they? And I can tell you, you want to know, okay? So luckily, and it has nothing to do with me. It has nothing to do with me, so I'm not going to say the first one first. So one of them is Jackson State University, and the other one is North Carolina A&T State University. Those are the top 2. And I always give a reason or try to explain, well, where is it? Why is that? Why are these 2 in the top 200? And it's a greater conversation, but it's almost about buy-in. Does your university buy into research? And I know from A&T's perspective, so I can at least speak on that one. There was a shift when a certain chancellor was in, and his perspective was he wanted to be a research institution, not an HBCU. He wanted to be a research institution first that just so happened to be an HBCU. And sometimes just that shift, that paradigm shift, really got the buy-in from the board of trustees, et cetera. And we started really pushing that research envelope and started pushing for these opportunities. And guess what? It can happen to everyone else on this call. There's plenty of opportunities, and I constantly beg HBCUs to apply for opportunities. I beg. There's $8.5 billion that we have. One institution last year alone, just so we can put this in context, one institution alone got $75 million. One from NSF. One institution. So while you got this $1 million, you got a $5 million award, that is great, but you can be doing so much more. So that's my boss is not on, so she says I need to preach. So since she's not on, I can preach a little more. So that's fine, but I want to make sure that you guys are very aware of, we want you to apply for opportunities.
But does that mean necessarily that you have to be a research-based institution? Like here at Harris Stowe, our new president, Dr. Corey Bradford, he's amazing, and he's really pushing the research envelope. We're starting to do a lot of new things to prepare for more research space. So you still have a chance if you apply for the, Yeah,
100%, Sandra. The goal is, it doesn't matter if you're, a research 1, research 2, or institution.
Okay, that's what I'm asking.
That's not what we're looking for. We're looking for an opportunity from Harris Stowe to Claflin to Winston-Salem State, all over, because each university has something. And we're trying to make sure that it is tapped in and utilized. But if you don't apply for the opportunity, we don't know. And so, is it Sehan? Is that right? You have a question?
Right.
Okay. Oh, go for it.
Thank you for all the explanation. It helps a lot as a new PI for me.
Congratulations.
Thank you. My question is about international researchers and NSF policy. Like If they have visa fees, can we pay out of grants? If so, which category does this cost item falls into? Two questions about international researchers.
Usually that is a no, because they really want us to basically invest in our own U.S. citizen researchers. So we really don't go into paying for, visas for international researchers, because the goal is to make sure that we are investing in the U.S. So we really don't go through that as far as support. Does that mean that you can't have someone speak? No, I'm not saying that. But as far as being on an award, yeah, no.
Okay.
Rashawn.
Short but clear. No.
Who's somebody?
Okay.
Janelle, there we go. Go ahead.
I put the link in the chat where you can find all the current funding opportunities.
Oh,
and
good.
as soon as you go on the page right at the top, you can sign up by email for them to send you the alerts.
Okay, thank you for that, because that was the thing I couldn't remember. Also, thank you, Margaret Young from Elizabeth City State. My grandmother graduated from Elizabeth City State University and taught 40 years in elementary education. So I got a lot of connections to HBCUs. Fayetteville State, great teaching school. So I was there, Bronco Pride. I know a lot of HBCUs. And I don't know this because of the job. I was one of those kids. My mom graduated from Shaw. So it was really pushed HBCU. So I was that kid that was always wearing HBCU paraphernalia, even in high school. I was that kid. And so it's just full circle that now I get to do what I love for the community that I love. So this is always fun for me.
Rashawn,
yeah,
I'm a little fuzzy.
Janelle is your grant officer, and she's a proud alumni of Bowie State University.
Bowie State, I went to Howard. My family is deeply indebted to Bethune-Cookman College, so I'm right on his coattail when it comes to the HBCU love. I love all of them.
Yes.
So Rashawn, I'm a little fuzzy with this question that Sandra Lil just posted.
Okay.
I can't remember. I've been away from the job for 4 months.
Okay. Yes,
I'm sorry, I didn't want to take up everybody's time.
No.
You're fine. You're fine.
Question, I promise.
No, you're fine. Ask away all the time if you have to.
You're here, it's easier.
How much in funding can you request on a supplement? That's your question?
I can't remember the percentage.
Yeah, it can't go over 20% of the original award.
That's it. 20% of the original award.
I wasn't sure. I thought it was 30.
Because if you go over 20%, you have to get a waiver. And that waiver, that could be a yay or nay. But if you stay under the 20% and under, you can just go ahead and
get prepared.
Get prepared. Mm-hmm.
Thank you.
No problem. Let's see. Yes.
I'm sorry. I don't know if I'm interrupting any other.
No. You're fine. Go for it.
But I really like your message earlier. You said that you encourage all HBCU to really improve on research and to become or aspire to be research-intensive universities with, a lot of productivity in research scholarship. So, as a faculty member, we've been trying to do that. At least, I as a faculty member, I've been trying to do that in my institution. So, is there any way you can get that message across to the university administrations?
Okay. There's a few ways. You can say you had a great conference, and NSF was talking about investment and buy-in from presidents about research at your university. Feel free to, if you ever want to say, do a webinar with us, where you can invite, we've done it before, we've invited, I think we were at Southern University, and we were talking about opportunities, and sometimes presidents are not, or chancellors are not aware of everything that's going on campus. And I was actually at Alabama A&M, and the president didn't know who I was. And he said, "Who are you, young man?" I said, "Well, I'm the one that just gave you $5 million." And his facial expression changed. And he was like, "Oh, well, you need to come in and talk to me." So there's almost like a disconnect between your chancellors, your presidents, and say your office of sponsor research or institution advancement, things of that nature. So basically these key stakeholders need to come together. But you, as the investigator, the PI, the faculty, need to also bring all of this talent to the table as well and say, this is what is out there. They're looking for our institution. We need assistance and we need your support. What does that support look like? It could be, hey, you get release time for teaching 5 classes, or you get a teacher aide, whatever you need. Those are things that they need to be aware of. So it's just where the university is trying to move to. I see a lot of smaller institutions say, well, we just don't have enough people. And usually if you're saying you need more people, this is one of the key ways to do it. We want to apply for these new opportunities. If we get this $1 million grant, we need to hire more people to manage it. And so it's always, once you get that first grant, it's now the second grant, things of that nature. So there's opportunities for you to prove and support your case of getting the support you need. And whatever you need from us, feel free. If you need email, if you need us to do a webinar, if you need conversation, whatever, Zoom meeting, you see how we can do these things now, no matter where you are. So feel free to utilize us to get to your goals. So that's my answer to that. And Marie, I see you.
Yes, I was wondering if you would also do this like at a department or college level. I'm situated in a college of education, and I think sometimes the dean they think about Department of Education, but we've got all these STEM faculty, the STEM educators, and then there's the psychology department, which has lots of researchers, and so, but. I'm wondering if you would also be willing to do it at the dean or the department chair level if I got them all together.
Oh, sure. That's not a problem. Yeah, I don't mind my audience.
Okay. Okay, because we've been growing. We've brought in a bunch of new faculty, and I'm trying to encourage them to get their research funded through you, because it works. It should. So, but there's just not. I think you guys coming by would be really helpful. So thank you very much for making yourself available for that.
Oh, no problem. Just a little positive reinforcement. That's fine.
Exactly. Thank you.
Not a problem. Seyhan, did you have another question? Yeah. Oh, you don't? Are you okay?
Yeah, I think she's saying she's good.
Oh, okay.
I'm good. Thank you.
Okay, I saw your hand raised. Okay. Who else has a question? Comment, feel free.
I'll just have a plug for my institution. Since you mentioned the webinar thing, we do have a webinar series, or we have a seminar series on the campus, STEAM Age seminar series at Virginia State University. So since this semester we're doing seminars online, so that makes it possible to offer the seminar to the other institutions, right? If any of you are interested, just send me email at xxie@vsu.edu. So I may send the flyer and the registration information to you.
Yeah, if you could put that in the chat for everyone, that'll be really, really great. I think this is one of the biggest things that I always love about the community is that we share information and we are not crabs in a barrel trying to hold each other. So it's always good that you're offering webinars to help the next one. And also just think about collaboration. Marie was talking about her situation, and it just brought to mind, if you're bringing, say, psychologists and things of that nature. Okay, well, have you thought about the SBE program? Have you thought about opportunities in there? So there's almost every little thing that you could possibly think of. There's probably a directorate or a division that you can probably find something that interests you. And it's just pretty much trying to just navigate what's there. I also, if Michelle and Carlita haven't told you, I think one of the biggest things that you can do, and I know they already talked about it, but I'll just add my little 2 cents to it. Make sure if you haven't had an opportunity to become a panelist, make sure you do that. It is one of the best things you can do, not only for your own advancement as a PI, but also for your respective institutions. It is a great, priceless opportunity, because if you can see behind the scenes what goes on and how to review a bad proposal versus a good proposal, you have all the tools you need to be successful in creating a great proposal submission to NSF. So make sure that you take full advantage of that. And I know they've already talked about it. So I see a lot of hands raised. So I'm just going to go Edward Dillon.
Okay, Rashawn, I'm also keeping in the chat the order of the hands.
Okay, yeah, so tell me who's next.
Technically, it was Carl Jackson.
Okay, Carl.
Then
thank you.
It's just Carl Jackson, Muhammad, and then Ahmad, and then I'll go through and keep that
going. Thank you. Okay, I just see hands up. Okay.
Hello. I always like to hear you present, Rashawn. You keep everything down to earth and
thank you. I appreciate
easy to grasp. And I apologize, I came a little late, so you might have touched on this already. But I'm aware of all the grant the programs that come out, the solicitation. But how does NSF look at unsolicited grants? That's one area I've never waded into as much. If you could speak just a little bit on that. And then I want to also shout out my boy, Muhammad Ahmed, one of my Castle brothers. He's going to speak next.
Okay.
But if you speak to that for me.
Okay. So the unsolicited, how does NSF view unsolicited? I mean,
is it less favorable, or does it just depend? Or
no, if there's an unsolicited proposal that's something that you are interested in, we want you to apply for it. It's really just that simple. It's not something where we're going to say, oh, no, you shouldn't apply for this opportunity because it's unsolicited. No, I don't see them as much as I used to. And I don't know if it's because we've become so solicitation focused that we sometimes just skip the unsolicited. But the unsolicited are there for a reason. They're unsolicited. So they're looking for people to basically answer the call of those unsolicited, basically dear colleague letters, etc. So feel free to apply.
Thank you.
No problem, Carl. And Mohammed's next.
Oh, thank you very much. And shout out to my entire Castle family NSF funded program. You see the result of it right here, right? All those Castle fellows are up here. So ways up on that. 2 quick questions. I also have like DOE grants, and now they're requiring that all the papers and the products be specifically entered into, their PAMS portal and all that stuff. Now we do upload all of that information as part of our annual report as products and others for our annual report. But are there any other reporting requirements of our papers and all that into your portal? That's question number 1. And sub part of that is, very often when we get these awards, universities would like to publicize them, and sometimes there's media engagement. It gets published at some newspaper or some local radio station or TV stations or whatever. Are there any requirements on media engagement? Because we acknowledgement that yes, we are doing this great work and this is happening and this is happening, or it's a public lecture that this was NSF funded. I've only kept it to the level of, mentioning that it is NSF. You can't shout out a big number on a TV or something like that. So are there guidelines on reporting media engagements to you, or us engaging in media saying that, we are acting on behalf of this grant, which is received from NSF? So those two questions would be great. Thank you.
Okay. Michelle or Carlita, you want me to answer, or I can if you want me to?
Sure. If I'm being honest, I was managing the chat, so I didn't.
Okay.
So I didn't specifically hear that question.
Okay. So basically, the question was as far as not promoting per se, but media, using the use of media on your grant, and are there any particular guidelines saying if we go beyond the norm and saying I'm adding Mohammed maybe a TV station or things of that nature, maybe a radio spot, things of that nature. How do you guys view it? My opinion, I think is great. This is just another part of the highlight that you add to your portfolio.
Sure. This is what we were talking a bit about yesterday, and we'll continue the conversation in the next session about examples of dissemination. Our goal is to share the good news that are coming out of this PI community, and the extent to which you can do that is certainly welcome. So yes.
I'll just add, like yesterday, we talked about creativity. Bottom line, we have not optimized our talents because we've been trying to fit in a box that we probably don't necessarily fit in. We are unique, and so we can use our unique natures to carve new paths for people to understand what we come with. And so that is the challenge to you, to disseminate your work as creatively and even start new standards. You never know. So I'll stop there. Thank you.
Yeah, we have we have 7 minutes left. Janelle, I did see you wanted to make a comment. Go ahead. You're on mute, sister.
Rashawn, 2 questions came through in regards to grad students. What I said was basically if the award was made specifically for undergrad students, you know, that's a cause for concern. Right. However, with Edward's question, he has a student that graduated, but he wants to know if he can fund her as a graduate, or is it her? Yeah, her, as a graduate research assistant. So I'm not really sure if that's something that he would need to follow up with the program officer.
Correct. Yeah, because we want to make sure that it's still in line with the original intent, because if you're saying you were part of the HBCU-UP undergraduate program, that would be the key. So I don't know exactly what that person would be doing, and if it's still in line and it's still in sync with the original intent of the grant.
And that's the same answer for you as well. Is it Linway? Yeah, Linwei. So that's your answer as well. Follow up with your NSF program officer. Okay, I'm done.
Okay, thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Okay, Carly, I'm ready.
Okay, Edward, because you were having the conversation in the chat, I'm not sure if you were able to get that question answered. If not, now is your opportunity. And then we'll cut it off here just due to time, where next we'll have Ahmed and then Home.
Okay, so can I go? I'm sorry.
Yes.
Okay, yeah, so this question is a little bit different. So it's kind of a question, Carlita and Michelle, we talked about this in the previous session. You told me to go ahead and ask them directly about this, Rashawn, about this specifically. So if I want to use some of my participant support funds as incentives or gift cards for my participants and some of my assessments, even though I did not originally propose it in my budget justification, could I do so?
Yes.
I can, okay, I can, okay.
And just make sure that you got institution policies, procedures to support it. Like how do you track it, blah, blah, blah. But yeah, you can do it.
All right, appreciate it.
Great. Ahmed?
Yes, thank you everyone for this session. It's very informative, especially to me as a new BI. So I have a quick question. So in my proposal, I propose to organize a workshop in the summer. And because of the COVID-19 situation, apparently I won't be able to do that in May. So I plan actually to convert that to online, so people can join the sessions online. So for the money, I allocated a lot of money to invite people come in and travel for students and so on. So can I move that money to other items? And also those students who are invited from other institutions, are they considered a participant or not?
Okay, so the quick answer, yes. You can rebudget, because remember, you can rebudget those funds as needed, because those funds were, say, participant support, or you're moving money in, say, from travel or et cetera, or you're moving money around. So that's fine. And then you said, what was the other part?
The students from other institutions who will
they're deemed participants.
They are
yeah. So if they're for sure, if they are coming from another institution and they're participating, they are deemed participants.
all right. Thank you.
Yeah, no problem.
Okay, and for time's sake, we'll have our last question from Hong Mei.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you so much for the meeting. So my question is, we just submitted a big proposal. That's the $12 million budget with 2 other R1 institutions. So for the case of like this, should we let the HBCU program officers know? But this is the general call from the BII, that's the Biology Integration Institute.
Okay. You can let them know that you have a pending proposal coming down or possibly under review. I think it would be, something, because I don't know exactly all the details of that particular program, but I think it might be something they would still want to be interested of knowing what's going on, because I think that just highlights the collaborative energy with working with HBCU. So I think that would be great if you just, if nothing more than an email of letting you know, hey, this is what we have in the pipeline. So yes, please let them know.
Yeah. Another question, just one more, this is the last one. Another question on the participant budget of the participant line. If the participant, we have money for travel, but right now because COVID, we cannot travel. So is it okay if we re-budget that part?
Where are you putting it?
To buy computer for the students so they can do online participating of conference, virtual conference.
Yeah, so the only thing we need to do is just do the reallocation of participant support, because that cost will then still go into F4, right, Janelle? F4 other for computer costs. Yeah, so F4.
So okay, so I need to send email.
Yeah, and then there's going to be a request, and it's going to be the reallocation of participant support. And basically it's going to, and then basically Carlito or Michelle will review it, and then you'll get an acknowledgement, but you will not get an amendment from us, like an award letter stating it's fine. But once you see that acknowledgement in research.gov, that will mean that it's been approved.
Okay, yep, thank you so much.
Yeah,
Thank you. Make sure that it's not an email, it's a formal request through research.gov.
Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you.
Well, with the time that we have, I want to certainly thank you all for your time and attention today. And if you could join me, particularly in the chat or through snapping fingers or waving hands, and appreciating the presence of our colleagues from DGA, Rashawn, Janelle, and team. Thank you so much. It's interesting, I'll just say, I've been at NSF for about 3 months, but when you never meet your colleagues and you're seeing them through this virtual space, it's very interesting. So I can't thank you all enough for everything that you've done to contribute to this program, and we certainly appreciate you. If you have any additional questions, certainly feel free to email any of us and follow up as well. We thank you. The information that we receive from Rashawn, we'll be sure that we include that in our post-conference materials for you. Just as a reminder, you have about a 15-minute break, and then we will reconvene as a group to have our networking discussion section. So thank you.
May I say something very quickly?
Absolutely.
Please
Yes.
come back to the networking sessions. There is a take home. Okay, there is a take home. There are some things that you'll need for the closing session. And I can't see everybody. Is Claudia on this page?
I don't know if she's
anybody,
Claudia.
if you see, just looks quickly.
I have not seen her today.
Okay, y'all need to come back. All right, that's as much as I'll say.
As I can say. There you go.
Thank you, Michelle. Have a good one.
Thank you guys. Have a great evening.
Talk to y'all soon.
All right.
Talk to you later. Bye.
Thank you.